Welcome to Top Tables, where I'll showcase various YuGiOh tournament experiences within Toronto and even beyond the city as I prepare for big events such as regionals, YCS, and the NAWCQ. Hey guys, so I haven't done a vlog in a while, but I figured I might as well do one for early Christmas celebrations. So at the time of recording this video, Crossover Breakers has just released yesterday, which means the introduction of YuGiOh and Malice, two very meta-defining decks. So we're actually going to be going to 4-1 games at the Vaughan location tomorrow as part of their launch event for Crossover Breakers. Now I decided to take a bit of a break from Branded Despia for this event in particular and bring Spright, which is basically the only other deck that I own, and I hope that you also understood the thumbnail reference, by the way, which is essentially Santa Claus and the Spright elves. But anyways, so in this YuGiOh format, I'm going to be honest, Spright is not very good because YuGiOh just keeps popping bodies, but I figured I might as well switch things up a bit for the vlog. But anyways, it's probably not going to go very well for me at the event. Now, the other reason I wanted to do a vlog is that my wife and I, we recently bought a new home and we moved in not that long ago, so I figured I might as well show you parts of the house as well, so let's just get started with that. Alright, so this is the room that I use to do my actual job working from home, I guess to keep it vague. So I'm an epidemiologist by training, so I analyze health data for a living. YouTube, by the way, is just a fun little side hobby for me. It's not a job, that's why I don't have any kind of like fancy setup here. I did win this YuGiOh neon sign from a raffle from locals not that long ago. I've been meaning to put in a proper place, but I kind of put it down here and I got lazy, haven't moved it since. I do have some shelves I want to start filling out, so I have these like Funko Pops on the UDS gloves. I also really love Digimon, Black War Greymon, that's probably my favorite of all time. Have some Nintendo stuff here as well. Alright, so next this is what we call the baby room. Once, you know, my wife and I eventually, when we start a family. The previous owner, I guess, really loved Harry Potter and had this kind of nice little wall painted over here. Also filling out this bookshelf here, so this is also where I just stuff all the free stuff that my sponsors send me. So a big thanks to all of them. Definitely go use my discount code when you can, and also have this random Lego here that I need to find a proper place for as well. So over there is the master bedroom. That's where we sleep, so I'm not going to show you that, but let's just keep moving on. Alright, so this is our living room. We're also going to be finishing off this Christmas tree later in the video, but for now we have to do a little bit of cooking, so let's get to that. Alright guys, so we actually have a couple of TCG related parcels to open, so we're just going to open it on the floor like a kid on Christmas morning. My back already hurts doing this, so let's just get right to it. Alright, so the first one is from Imperium Duelist, so let's check it out. So we have a bunch of sleeves here, so that's very nice. Ooh, okay, so deck box, so I guess One Piece themed, so for those of you that do like this game, you know, I heard really great things. And just a bunch of more outer sleeves, so that's super cool. Magical hats, I actually really like this one. I already have been using it for a while. Okay, so this next one's from Sleeve Chief. It's a pretty big package, so let's see what's in here. Wow, that's crazy, holy crap. Oh my goodness, what? Okay, so let's start with some of the sleeves, dice. I've got wind here, fire, earth. Oh, that's pretty cool. And then we have a Pot of Greed binder here. That's really cool. Ooh, the texture is super nice too. Wow, really nice. Oh my. Okay. Wow. Wow. Okay. Okay. Oh wow, that's really cool. I'm guessing there's some kind of Tenpai art here. And there is. Oh wow, I guess this is the YuGiOh one too. So let's see the art here. So that's really cool. Okay. Wow. Oh wow, the texture is the exact same as the binder too. Holy. And looks like we have some incredible art here. Honestly guys, I don't know what this is. If you guys know what it is, tell me. Okay, this is YuGiOh actually. That's really cool. YuGiOh here, loving Defender forever. Alright guys, so that was a crazy amount of stuff. Thank you again to all my sponsors. Definitely go use my code Hakuna5, Sleeve Chief for 5% off, and Hakuna10 at Imperium Duelist for 10% off. Anyways, that's it for today. Let's just get ready for locals tomorrow. Okay, so let's just get to the actual gameplay. In round 1, we're against Mekon and Melodious. Alright, so we do lose the die roll against Melodious, which is kind of scary because they can be pretty strong, and he's going to start off with the Ostinato, which I did Ash, but that was really the only hand trap at this point for me. And so he makes this board, essentially, you know, he has multiple DD Crow, banishes, some bounces, which is actually pretty strong in terms of bounces for Spright. So I do try my best to play through it. So we're going to start off with the Beaver summon here. And we eventually get to this point where I dump Angler, but the problem ended up being that I actually drew a second Beaver for turn, and I realized I didn't actually have another 2 to summon off of the Nimble Angler. So unfortunately, I did have to scoop here and move on to game 2. Alright, so we are going to go first for game 2. We're going to start off with the starter in draw phase to try to play around Droll. We are hit with the Dominus Purge though, so we cannot add off of blue. We do have the red, but I do have to use Prosperity. So I normally only do 3 when I play Spright, but unfortunately my hand was pretty desperate. I needed to go all 6, so the grind game is not going to be there. Not that this deck has much of a grind game anymore, at least compared to what it used to have back when Spright Alpha was legal. But we did rip off the Beaver, so which is nice to have, and it's really one of the better normal summons in this deck, and we are able to kind of go full Spright board here. And so at this point I am about to make Gigantic Spright, and then here we will use the effect. Bring out the Swap Frog, which is nice with the new Ice Jade support. We are able to make Toad a lot easier nowadays. And then we also play the Silhouette Rabbit. I used to not like this, but then I realized how strong and versatile it makes the end board, especially when you get interrupted by hand traps. Fortunately, with this one, we did actually manage to pull off pretty well, and we even had Anti-Spell, and I can't remember the other 2 sets, but they were also very, very strong, and I do really take this pretty easily because it's just too much of an end board. So game 3, we are going second. Unfortunately, we draw an absolutely unplayable brick hand, as you might have seen on the screen flash briefly. It was essentially double Droll, double Angler, and the continuous spell that revives the Ice Shade card, basically. So we couldn't do anything about it in this game, so we do lose this match, lose round 1, but totally fine. Very fun experience.
Alright, David, what do you like better, YuGiOh or Malice?
I like Malice because you put striker cards in there, and that's pretty fun.
Definitely Malice.
Why is that?
You know, you got all the waifus and you look better than YuGiOh.
Oh god, no.
Of course, YuGiOh, bro. Spright and Zodiac, come on, like.
YuGiOh right now, because it's like Teller Knights.
I like YuGiOh a lot better, it's more lenient.
YuGiOh number 1.
Is there a reason?
No. The play is like
Now round 2, we are going against Richard and his Exodia strategy, so let's get to that. Alright, so luckily we did win the die roll, so we get to go first. My opponent does shotgun the shifter there. Sorry, it is cut off from the screen. We're going to start off with the Beaver. We actually have some plays under shifter because we actually side shifter ourselves. Going first, though, it's not really ideal. We do add the jet off the blue. We're going to go Gigantic. We are hit with an Ash there. We honestly have some, I mean, not too terrible of a line under shifter, even despite the interruptions. We get to at least summon out the Carrot, and we're going to go Silhouette Rabbit, and we're going to use a effect to set the Angel Statue trap. The problem was I done goofed. I forgot to side it back in after round 1, so unfortunately I have to just scoop there because I didn't have a proper main deck. Alright, so let's just try this again. We are going to go first again for game 2. So we unfortunately did not have a good hand. We only had the red and the Carrot as the only level 2s. I believe I also drew the continuous spell that revives the Ice Shade monster, as well as also Gamma Burst, unfortunately. So I mean, honestly, I just assumed I'm gonna lose this one. He starts off with Instant Fusion, and then I at least put out the Angel Statue now. I honestly, at this point, I didn't even know really what he was playing, just because remember I did have to just scoop that game 1 because I didn't have a legal main deck at that point. So Millennium Eyes Restrict, haven't seen that too often nowadays, not as common, especially with, you know, something like, I guess like something like Drytron used to play it back when it was meta. I believe he just passed, so I'm at least trying my best to hang in there. We attack over the Millennium Eyes Restrict. We have the starter that we at least draw, so finally we actually have some plays. We have the blue, which adds the Jet, and then Jet is going to add the Double Cross because we know we're not going to be able to kill right here, so we are just going to try our best to hang on. We're going to go Gigantic, and we actually decided to just go into Sprint here. I believe I was hand trapped onto Gigantic. That's probably why I didn't actually get to use the effect. But you know what? At least we still can try our best to hang on because it looks like my opponent didn't draw too well here. So we decided to go with the Mannequin Cat, since especially now that Gigantic was already used, we summon out his Ash, and then we can summon out a Fire, which I believe that looks like a red or a Carrot, obviously one of the two. Sorry about that, the screen was cut off here. So my opponent looks like he's gonna, oh okay, it was a red, but he does have Super Poly, which gets rid of both of those, so not ideal. He does have the Garura out now. So at this point I'm gonna use Mannequin Cat again. And I decided instead of going for red or carrot, I decided to just target the Garura so that I can have some follow-up by summoning out the blue, which adds the jet. I also used the double cross just to attach that Garura because I didn't want him to be able to link off and draw. But he summons the arm, and so clearly it turns out it was like YuGiOh. He's going to use Dark Effect to special out the Gigantic here, and then link off into Celine, which then I assume is going into the Access Code line play, and summons out the Restrict and goes into, as believed, Access Code Talker here. So I allow him to just break the back row, which didn't do too much, and he does clear my board here, but Access Code Talker on its own doesn't actually really do anything if you don't actually kill your opponent, right? So we are going to start off with the blue here, add, I believe, well, it looks like at least we still had the jet from earlier that we added last turn. We are running out of Spright spell and trap, so we are just going to add another starter for the follow-up, I assume. Then we do summon out the carrot, go Gigantic Effect, Frog, which dumps the Ice Shade card. Again, I already hard opened the continuous spell, unfortunately, so I don't get the plus as much. I do summon out the Toad. It's kind of funny how hard it is to out big monsters with Spright unless you are essentially playing other either you play Gamma Burst, which unfortunately already got popped. I can't summon Typhon here. We quickly fix that. I'm obviously locked into 2s because of Gigantic here. So we are going to link into SP, just get rid of that because otherwise I just can't get rid of it. And my opponent scoops here, so we're going to game 3. Alright, so game 3, my opponent's going first. He's going to start off with the blue-eyes card to try to add the Millennium Ankh. I do Ash that. Fortunately, he sets 2 passes, so my opponent has not drawn very well all 3 games. So we are going to go with the Strider, summon out the blue, which then adds the Jet. And I'm going to use Jet. Unfortunately, I do side out the double cross going second, so I kind of just, and I didn't feel confident to be able to OTK with this kind of board state, and didn't add the Gamma Burst, but rather just went for starter. I am hit with the D barrier, so unfortunately this is pretty much all I can do. He did call Xyz, so I can't really extend too much, but I do have some sets of my own, so we are going to just pass turn there. He starts with another blue eyes card to try to add, but I do have Call By, except he actually hard drew the Ankh this time. So you get to see all 5 pieces of YuGiOh on this vlog for the first time. Unfortunately, not in the conventional way, but he is able to summon out the fusion version, which is pretty strong. It's an Omni Negate. It can gain quite a lot of attack, basically, his life points, and also can set a trap in the end phase, something like the one you see on the field here, which will essentially clear out my entire board as long as he controls his YuGiOh monsters. So after he passes, I do have several plays. I actually have a set in perm as well, so I'm trying my best to sort of bait out, or rather sequence my plays, because essentially the board clear with the trap is very strong. So we're going to go with the starter that we added last time. We're going to have the blue, and then add, I believe, the Jet. I have Change of Heart. I assumed he would negate. He actually lets it go because it ended up being that he had Super Poly set, and he was just trying to make me go, at least I guess, try to fuse away once I get to maybe Gigantic even, but unfortunately for him, I decide to actually go into the Nightmare Phoenix line, and I essentially take the win from there.
Alright, so what do you like better between YuGiOh or Malice?
I like both.
Yeah, okay, fair. What about you?
I like the Malice deck. I think playing under Shifter is a pretty good concept to get a lot of the fluff out and just side into the YuGiOh match.
Bro, it's gotta be YuGiOh, man. I mean, they're like little mechs on steroids.
Probably YuGiOh so far, because a lot of people are on Nibiru and then Lancia side deck, and then you can like thrust into Sanctum.
YuGiOh.
Why is that?
YuGiOh, because it's easier to play, in my opinion. Down the road, I think Malice is gonna get better support than YuGiOh.
Malice for sure, bro. Malice. No, waifu archetypes are the best, bro.
So round 3, we were finally going against some meta, and it is against Snake Eye, so let's get started. So we lose the die roll against Snake Eye, not something you ever want to do. I only had one hand trap, which was Ash, so I decided to just hit the first thing, which ended up working out, and he only just sets 2 passes, not something you see too often with Snake Eye. We do have Beaver to start, which is a great way for Spright. We also have Jet. He hits me with the Mourner. I actually decide to hit with Call By for this one rather than waiting. So now we are able to get started, and I actually also decided to just go into Gigantic first. I wanted to start baiting out to his back row because I didn't really know. It also helps me play around Nib if this does resolve, and that's just one less thing I need to try to negate, for example. So we have Frog. We use this effect. We have to dump Frog because we actually hard open the Ice Shade monster, but it also sets as a bait for Imperm. But we are hit with the Impulse on the starter though, but we do use Swap Frog effect to basically bounce back, and then special it again by pitching the Ice Shade monster that I had in hand already, and now I can go into Toad. We are hit with the Eclipse, or rather before I go into Toad, but I actually had an Ash, so I was able to stop that, and we basically take game 1 from here. Alright, so game 2 was crazy because so my opponent goes first, I full him, and we get to a point where we Nibiru each other not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times in consecutive turns, and obviously I cannot grind with the likes of Snake Eye, so unfortunately we do lose game 2, but it was crazy sequencing. Alright, so going into game 3, we do get to go first, and our hand is actually looking pretty solid. So we are going to start out with the Swap Frog, which normally baits on hand traps, just because of the threat of Toad. I use the Ice Shade to be able to special summon. Impulse is actually really big here because I also drew the Shifter. I side that in going first in case I'm hit with like a Full Walrus and I pass on it. And if I were to be able to summon at the Ice Shade, I could at least still Shifter because my grave would be empty at that point. But because of the Impulse, that actually was a lot more devastating than it looked. I used Gigantic. Unfortunately, I'm hit with the Veiler, so it is not looking too good because I also have Carrot instead of Red, unfortunately. So I decided to just go into the Silhouette Rabbit and set the Angel Statue. So those 2 hand traps definitely pretty devastating, and unfortunately I am going to hit rather pass here. I decided to Shotgun the statue, even though essentially sacrificing on the Spell Trap Pop effect of Silhouette Rabbit just because I'm worried about the Witch summoning as an Inherit Summon as a turn 1 play, or rather first play. Unfortunately I am hit with the Evenly. I'm like, you know what, might as well negate it, otherwise I just lose everything anyways. But it doesn't look too great for me, and unfortunately my opponent just has too much gas and we ended up losing this one.
What deck are you playing?
YuGiOh.
And for final round, we are going against Surge and his Eldritch Stun strategy. Alright, so we lose the die roll again. Unfortunately, my opponent starts with the Heavenly Prison and sets 3. I'm already scared because this deck does not do well into back row. We're going to summon the Angler, and he flips Rivalry, which is absolutely F2K against me. So unfortunately, we basically lose this real quick right here and move on to game 2. Alright, so game 2, we actually draw a good hand if it was against any other quote-unquote normal deck, but for a deck like Stun, it's not actually all that amazing because some of the cards that I draw, interruptions rather, just end up being kind of irrelevant. So I do sort of do like the typical Spright stuff here. I set up the Toad, I add the Double Cross. Again, he doesn't even really, at least from my understanding so far, I don't think he would have many monsters that are relevant for me to take, but I just don't really, I don't play Smashes unfortunately. I just felt that that card wasn't very good in the current format, and just Double Cross was so much better, at least again against sort of like your normal deck. So I even drew like an Imperm, which just doesn't end up being very strong against a stun like deck, right? But I don't have that many cards that I can just side out. Unfortunately, I'm also hit with the Sphere mode, so that really hurts. That was something I was actually very scared of as I pass turn with this board, and he sets 4 pass, which I already know now that I'm probably not going to be in a very good position here, especially with like my Carrick on as well, and as well as the Toad. Alright, so we're eventually in this game set, and I'm tributed yet again for this time Lava Golem, so not looking too good. It turns out he's playing Eldritch though with all the other stun stuff, and then I'm hit with the Linear Equation Cannon, so I get just all of my stuff banished. So you know what, I just had no chance. I got my ass whooped here, but honestly, as much as stun is kind of toxic, this one was actually pretty fun, and we had a lot of laughs together in this one. Alright guys, so that was it for the vlog. Obviously I didn't do very well in terms of the event in itself, but I had a ton of fun, and that's truly what matters for me, especially because I know I'm not going to be able to play Yu-Gi-Oh forever, and you know what, these are the moments that I'm going to cherish. So hopefully you found the vlog enjoyable as well. I am going to return to Branded Despia though after this event, despite that banlist hit on Gimmick Puppet Nightmare today actually with the YCS stream. So anyways, big thanks to all of you for watching, and well, take care guys.